Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 8 and today we will discuss about sociolinguistics in education. But before we go any further, let me introduce you to the members of the group. The first one is Zahrani Mustika Dewi and me, Regina Multazam. And there is Nur Asia, then Putri Naila, and the last one is Treski Ihya Syamdutami.
Descriptive and elaborative code. Bernstein categories language into two main types: elaborated code and discrete code. Elaborated code utilizes standard grammatical structures, complex sentence with conjunction and adverb, a wide range of adjective and adverb, and allows for qualifying remarks. On the other hand, restricted code is characterized by simpler language structures and limited vocabulary usage. The emphasis on the distinct linguistic characteristic of elaborate and restricted codes underscores the importance of language in shaping societal interaction and reinforcing social hierarchy. Difference, not deficit. Language discrimination is prevalent despite efforts to promote linguistic equality. Milroy and Milroy, uh, 90 and 99, observe that discrimination on a linguistic ground is still acceptable even though a difference in language may reflect ethnic, religious, and class distinction. Despite linguistic deploring this reality, it cannot be overlooked that people do use language as a tool for discrimination. A central debate in sociolinguistics is whether or not standard dialect should be seen as inferior, deficit model, or simply as different from the standard language difference model. The latter approach stresses that linguistic diversity should not be viewed negatively in education.
Role of home dialects in education. Children who come to school speaking non-standard dialects often face challenges in the classroom because the standard dialects is used as the medium of instruction. So, one of the key issues in social linguistics is how students' home dialects affected their experience in the classroom. First, let's define what we mean by a home dialect. A home dialect is a language or a variety of language students use at home with family or in their local community. Now, why is this important? Schools often use a standard variety of language, like Standard English, as a language of instruction. So, when children come to school speaking non-standard dialects, often face challenges in the classroom. Teachers may not be familiar with students' home dialects and students might be struggle to adjust the expectation of the school language norms. Let's move to the second point. African American Vernacular English or AAVE and education. AAVE speakers may experience difficulty because their dialect is often stigmatized. Historically, AAVE has often been stigmatized in educational settings. Many educators saw it as an inferior to standard English. However, linguistics like William LeBoeuf have shown that AAVE is not just a collection of slangs or mistakes. It's a systematic, rule-governed variety of English with its own grammar and structure.
Elite bilingualism and immigrant bilingualism are two concepts in sociolinguistics that relate to a person's ability to speak two languages yet differ in social context and origin. Okay, number one, elite bilingualism. The first point, elite bilingualism is the ability to speak two or more languages that is generally possessed by individuals from higher social or economic groups. The second point, people who fall into the category usually learn a second or more language through formal education, international travel, or life experience abroad. Okay, third point, the second language learning is usually considered to have a higher social status or prestige, such as English, French, or Mandarin, depending in the social and economic context. Okay, the last point is the motivation for learning a second language is more likely to be for career advancement, personal development, or academic reason. Okay, two, immigrant bilingualism. The first point, immigrant bilingualism, is the ability to speak two languages that usually develop among immigrants or their children. The second point, the first language is generally the mother tongue or home language of the country they come from, while the second language is the dominant language in the new country live in. The third point, immigrants learn a second language as a part of the adaptation need in the new country, whether for work, daily communication, or integrating into the new society. Okay, the last point, in many cases, the first language may have a lower social status in the new country, while the second language becomes more dominant in the educational and employment context. The main difference is in the social context and motivation behind language proficiency. Elite bilingualism is more related to socioeconomic choices by opportunities, while immigrant bilingualism is more related to the need for adaptation in new environment.
So the first is ideologies in multilingual education. So in the text discussed language ideas in multilingual education, it highlights that multilingual classrooms are increasingly common and examines how ideologies about language influence educational practice. So here I will explain points from the material. So the first is monoclassic and normative monolingual ideologies. These ideologies prioritize a single language, often sidelining minority language. The second point is impact in the US. Ideologies that restrict bilingualism and use high stakes testing negatively affect minority language students. And the third point is benefits of plurality. Programs supporting multiple language and using them consistently in the classroom can enhance students' self-esteem and intergroup solidarity. And the last point is case in France. These points, dominant monolingual ideologies focus on integrating immigrant students without appreciating linguistic diversity. And the next topic is about use minority language in the classroom. So the material is explained that there's been a long-standing bias against using minority language in classrooms, with the belief that immersion in the majority language is the best way to learn. However, research, including the Remis report, show that bilingual education, where some interaction is in the child's home language, actually leads to better long-term academic success. The study found that Spanish-speaking children who received more years of bilingual education performed better in English standardized tests by sixth grade. It also notes that learning to read in a fluent language like Spanish before transitioning to English is more effective than starting to read in English directly. This means that the quality and context of language exposure are crucial, not just the amount of exposure.
Education and Worldwide English. Circle of English. English is spoken in three broad categories: inner circle, outer circle, and expanding circle. 1. Inner circle. This category includes native English speakers, primarily from the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. These countries have English as their primary language and are often considered the standard barriers of English language usage. 2. Other circle. This category includes countries where formerly part of the British Empire and now use English as a second language. Example includes India, Nigeria, the Philippines, and Singapore. English is often used in official contexts, education, business, and government in these countries. 3. Expanding circle. This category includes countries where English is not an official language but increasingly being used as a foreign language. Example includes China, Japan, and many countries in Europe. The use of English in these countries is often driven by globalization, international business, education, and tourism. Next, elite closure. This refers to the phenomenon where access to elite institution is limited to those who speak a standard variety of English, such as prestigious university, professional positions, and social networks. It's limited to those who possess a standard variety of English. This concept is closely related to the idea of prestige varieties in sociolinguistics, where the standard form of a language is often associated with higher social status and power.
Okay, I think that's all from our material for today. If you guys have any question, feel free to write down your question in our WhatsApp group. Thank you so much for watching and thank you so much for listening. Have a nice day.